All right, let's jump right in. Imagine standing at the threshold of a new epoch, a seismic shift in human history, really, as profound as the Enlightenment itself.
Wow, yeah.
That's the extraordinary claim. Well, the core idea at the heart of our deep dive today. It's coming straight from Eric Schmidt, the former Google CEO. He's reflecting on his book, Genesis, AI and the Human Spirit, which he co-wrote with the late Henry Kissinger.
Right, quite a pairing there.
Absolutely. We're talking about the rapid, truly epochal changes being driven by artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
So our mission, let's try to unpack the biggest misunderstandings leaders still seem to have, dive into this fascinating, maybe slightly unnerving concept of the San Francisco consensus, and ultimately figure out what all of this means for you right now.
And it's so crucial to understand, like you said, we're not just debating incremental tech upgrades here. A faster phone or some clever new app. That's not it.
Not at all.
Schmidt, and you can really hear Kissinger's influence here, his geopolitical lens. He frames this as a fundamental reevaluation of human reasoning.
Yeah.
He sees it as the, undeniable arrival of an entirely new form of intelligence.
A new intelligence.
Exactly. This isn't just about tech progress. It feels like a foundational moment for humanity.
Schmidt he seems absolutely convinced that we're at the very dawn of this new epoch.
Yeah, no hedging there.
No. He and Henry Kissinger drew this direct parallel to the Enlightenment. That time when humanity shifted from, say, direct faith to really embracing and relying on its own reasoning skills.
Right. A huge conceptual shift.
Huge. Now, fast forward to today, and we're seeing the emergence of a non-human intelligence. And it's one he believes is poised to demonstrate, frankly, superior reasoning skills compared to what most humans can generally achieve.
That's a big statement.
It is. We're talking about what's known as AGI, artificial general intelligence, and then, eventually superintelligence. And he really doesn't pull any punches here. He says this is happening way faster than anyone anticipated. And most people, they're simply not prepared. He highlights the biggest misconception leaders still cling to. This isn't just about ChatGPT.
Right, that's old news almost.
Exactly. That was 2 years ago. The landscape has fundamentally shifted again. Leaders are caught off guard, and they desperately need to get organized. Addressing both the incredible opportunities and the pretty serious challenges that come with this acceleration.
And that rapid pace you mentioned, the acceleration Eric described, it actually creates what you could almost call a governance paradox.
A paradox? How so?
Well, the core insight here is that by the time governments or traditional institutions fully grasp the implications of the current AI, the technology itself has already leaped forward again.
Okay. Playing catch-up.
Always playing catch-up. It's like trying to regulate a river that's constantly changing its course and its speed. Regulation becomes perpetually reactive, right?
Yeah.
Not proactive.
Yeah, you can't get ahead of it.
Exactly. How do you govern something that fundamentally outpaces our understanding and, all our established frameworks?
That rapid pace, that governance paradox, it leads us straight into this really fascinating concept he's coined, the San Francisco consensus.
Okay, yeah, I've seen this mentioned.
Right. This is where things get truly eye-opening. Schmidt describes it as this shared belief among a specific group he works with in San Francisco, and they're convinced that in the next, say, 2 to 4 years, average prediction is 3 years.
3 years, that's soon.
Very soon. The entire world will change. Now, he's quick to point out, look, it's a consensus, right? Not a verified prophecy.
Sure, it's a scenario.
It's their scenario for how things might unfold. So how does the scenario break down? He sees it in 3 key phases. First, Schmidt points to large language models, LLMs, systems like ChatGPT that process and generate text as the initial catalyst, the spark.
The starting point.
Right. But this quickly transitions into phase 2, what he calls the agentic revolution. This is where language combines with memory and reasoning inside these systems.
Okay, so they don't just talk, they do.
Exactly. They become agents that can actually do things. Think of it like this. Schmidt gives this example of building a house in California. An agent finds the lot, another works on the rules, another designs it, another selects the contractor. And, maybe another agent sues the contractor if it goes wrong.
Yeah, okay. Covering all bases.
Right. But what's crucial here is that this multi-step automated workflow, it applies to everything. Every business, every government, every human activity.
And that agentic revolution, that's the fundamental game changer here, isn't it?
Seems like it.
It really signifies AI moving beyond just, answering questions to actively executing these complex multi-step workflows. We're talking about systems that don't just give you info, but can initiate and complete tasks across different domains.
Wow.
And what's genuinely startling, maybe a bit scary, is this idea of recursive self-improvement.
Where they teach themselves.
Yeah, where these systems learn and enhance themselves at a rate humans just can't match. Schmidt says that's already begun with agentic solutions. We'll start using systems that learn and improve as we interact with them by the end of this year.
This year.
That's what he predicts.
Yeah.
That's a fundamentally different relationship with technology.
Absolutely. And that leads right into his third phase, the reasoning revolution. We're seeing systems with incredible reasoning capabilities, like right now, just look at GPT-4, specifically the O3 version he mentions, watching it reason forward and backward to solve problems. It's genuinely mind-blowing.
Yeah, the demos are impressive.
And Google, for example, now has a math model performing at the 90th percentile of math graduate students.
Wow.
These systems are hitting the equivalent of 90% of high-order grad school skills, math, physics, other complex fields. It's not just memorization anymore. It's deep understanding and problem solving.
Right. Real reasoning.
So with all these rapid advancements, what does this mean for those terms we hear thrown around like AGI and superintelligence? Can we clarify the difference and where Schmidt sees them on the timeline?
Yeah, it's a critical distinction. And the timeline is, well, potentially quite short. AGI, artificial general intelligence, is generally understood as a system that's generally intelligent. Meaning not just good at one specific task, but versatile across many. It's this idea of a system with maybe true free will.
Free will, like...
Well, maybe not exactly like humans, but the notion of not just following commands, waking up, choosing its own goals, learning independently, seeking new knowledge, maybe even pursuing abstract truths.
So strategic intelligence.
Exactly. An intelligence as versatile and self-directed, potentially, as a human mind. Schmidt forecasts this kind of strategic intelligence could emerge within 4 to 6 years.
4 to 6 years for AGI. Okay, and what comes after AGI?
After AGI, we potentially move into superintelligence.
Right.
And this is where the system isn't just generally intelligent, but smarter than the sum of all humans combined.
Smarter than all of us.
That's the definition.
Yeah.
And the simplest, almost chilling test for it is this. It can prove something we know is true, but no human can actually understand the proof.
Wow. Like it's operating on a different level entirely.
Precisely. Henry Kissinger, Schmidt's co-author, apparently mused, is that magic?
Yeah, you can see why.
And he even suggested people might take up arms against it, just out of fear. Schmidt believes this could occur within a decade.
Within a decade. So AGI in 4-6 years, superintelligence maybe a decade away. That raises a profound question. If such a superintelligence emerges, how do you even begin to contain it with what Schmidt calls our dumb intelligence, our human intelligence?
That's the core problem, isn't it? While there's some, mathematical speculation about containment being theoretically possible, it truly is uncharted territory. We've never faced this before.
No kidding.
Precisely. And zooming out, these advancements, they touch every aspect of human experience, even national security.
Right. Schmidt does a lot of work there.
He does. And his work leads him to discuss the risks of a really dangerous race condition between nations.
Like an AI arms race?
Sort of, yeah. Imagine one country gets such a significant AI advantage that an opponent concludes they'll never catch up. That could lead to desperate, maybe even preemptive actions.
That's deeply unsettling.
It is. And he also poses these fundamental questions about whether democracies, as we know them, can even survive the arrival of AGI. These aren't just hypothetical debates for academics anymore. They are core questions about the future of humanity being thrust upon us right now.
Okay, shifting gears slightly, but still related to this huge scale. With all this talk of exponential growth, a lot of people are wondering, is this just a bubble?
Yeah, the investment is staggering.
It is. We're seeing massive, unprecedented investments in compute power. Eric Schmidt actually describes CapEx, capital expenditure, as the new AI moat.
The barrier to entry.
Exactly. But he notes that many industry executives, while pouring money in themselves, secretly believe we're in a period overbuilding. They expect overcapacity to hit in maybe 2 or 3 years.
But their company will be fine, right?
Of course. Their company will be fine. It's the others who will lose money. He calls this a classic bubble scenario.
It definitely had that feel, that sort of rationalized exuberance. But Schmidt offers a compelling counter-argument, doesn't he?
He does. He basically argues that if you really buy into that San Francisco consensus, this idea that reasoning through inference and reinforcement learning will fundamentally redefine humanity.
If you believe the core premise.
Right, then it's actually underhyped, and we need even more compute, loads more.
Interesting. So not overbuilt, but underbuilt.
Yeah. Potentially. Schmidt draws on decades of experience, where hardware capacity was always absorbed by new software demands. He recalls that old Silicon Valley saying, "Grove giveth and Gates taketh away."
Right. Software always expands to fill the available hardware.
Exactly. So based on that history, he believes it's highly unlikely to be a bubble. He sees it as a whole new industrial structure forming right before our eyes.
A fundamental shift.
Yeah, and he gives immense credit, specifically, to the team at OpenAI for what he calls the historically important discovery of LLMs and foundation models. He thinks that really kicked off this new transformative era.
And that structural shift idea, it really is evident in the sheer demand for compute, isn't it?
How so?
Well, these sophisticated reasoning models, they aren't cheap to run. They are thousands of times more expensive in electricity and processing power per query than a simple Google search.
Thousands of times. Wow.
Yeah. So this colossal hardware investment, it isn't just, speculative bets. It's becoming a foundational requirement for these complex self-learning systems of the future. It really underpins the idea that this is a structural shift in our industrial landscape. We're building a new infrastructure for a new kind of intelligence.
Okay, so if compute isn't the bottleneck, what about data? You might think, logically, that we've already sucked up all the data for AI to train on. Scraped the whole internet, digitized all the books, reached some kind of limit.
That's a common thought, yeah.
But Schmidt argues that's simply not true. He explains that these systems will continue to scale, maybe exponentially, in what he calls scale-free fields.
Scale-free, meaning?
Areas where new data, or rather new problems and solutions, can be generated almost infinitely without relying on scraping more of the existing world.
Okay. Like pure concepts.
Exactly. Take mathematics, for example. Mathematicians, with their whiteboards, they essentially invent new structures, new theorems all day long.
Right. It's a creative, generative process.
Well, AI can do this too, using a formal verification protocol like Lean, which is basically a structured language for proving mathematical theorems. One AI system can generate conjectures, and another can try to prove them.
A closed loop of mathematical discovery.
It's a perfect scale-free solution. Plus, he notes, math uses far fewer tokens, those individual units of text input, than natural language, which is great for performance, makes it more efficient.
Interesting. And then there's software, the other example he gives.
Exactly. Software programmers, let's be honest, often write very similar code, solving similar problems over and over.
Lots of boilerplate.
Right. In the future, Schmidt envisions people will just state what they want the software to do, and the computer will write the actual code.
The ultimate low-code, no-code.
Pretty much. Schmidt, with his deep background in language design and OS architectures, he humorously notes this is basically destroying his entire validation in his lifetime.
Yeah. Humbling for a pioneer.
But this scale-free ability in software, it also has a darker side, doesn't it? AI can also generate an enormous number of cyber attacks, repetitively searching for vulnerabilities like buffer overflows, common coding errors that hackers exploit. It can do it tirelessly at scale.
Right, automating the offense as well as the defense, potentially.
Yeah. And these two scale-free areas, math and software, he sees them as just the beginning. They'll be followed by other fields that maybe need more real-world data initially, like biology, chemistry, physics.
But that data is coming through sensors, experiments.
Exactly, that data is coming. And this forms the basis for this predicted power explosion in AI infrastructure, enabling potential solutions for huge problems. Climate change, medicine, material science, all sorts of extraordinary things.
Now, if we accept Schmidt's premise that silicon is strategy, this whole picture raises a really important question. How do the global AI power dynamics shift in this new landscape?
Good question. What does he observe?
He observes this strange, kind of intriguing structure emerging. In the U.S., you have massive private capital funding companies building these incredibly powerful, but often closed-source proprietary services. Think OpenAI, Google, Anthropic.
Right, that players.
But in China, with initiatives like DeepSeek and others he mentions, they seem to be doing the exact opposite. Open source, open weights, meaning they release the model parameters and likely government-funded or heavily supported.
Wow, that's a really stark contrast. Closed versus open, what are the implications of that split?
Well, the strategic consequence could be profound. These open source models, especially the Chinese ones, will likely see far greater adoption globally,
Hmm.
particularly in the 100-plus countries that U.S. and Western companies don't typically engage with as intensely economically.
So easier access, wider spread.
Potentially, yeah.
Sure.
This could lead to a weird situation where America and the West are maybe technically ahead in raw capabilities, the cutting-edge models,
Hmm.
but the vast majority of actual AI use worldwide comes from these open source Chinese models.
That's a fascinating geopolitical issue. Capability versus deployment and influence.
Exactly. It requires some really critical thinking about future global influence and how technology actually diffuses and gets used on the ground.
Thinking back, Schmidt was CEO of Google during another massive shift, the mobile revolution.
Right. Android versus iOS days.
And he has this powerful, almost urgent lesson for us about navigating these kinds of huge paradigm shifts. He says, looking back, every single mistake he made was fundamentally one of time.
Time, meaning speed.
Speed,
Yeah.
exactly. Despite Android achieving, 90% market share eventually, he felt they didn't move fast enough. They didn't take the mobile concept to its absolute logical extreme quickly enough.
Huh. Even with that success.
Even with that success, he gives examples like not fully grasping early on that your phone number would essentially become your unique global ID, the key to your digital life, as WhatsApp so clearly demonstrated later.
Yeah, that seems obvious now, but maybe wasn't then.
Right. It wasn't obvious then. So his message to you, the listener, is crystal clear. If you're involved in these AI areas, do it now. And move incredibly, incredibly fast.
No hesitation.
None. This market has so many players, so much money at stake, that you will be bypassed if you spend too much time worrying about anything other than building truly incredible products and deploying them. The imperative is speed, above all else.
And that error of time he talks about, it isn't just about market share for one company, is it?
No, it feels bigger.
It really is. It's about shaping the foundational infrastructure of the future. The first movers, or the fastest movers, aren't just gaining a temporary commercial edge. They are literally laying down the tracks for how entire new industries, maybe even aspects of society, will operate.
Setting the standards, the platforms.
Exactly. Which makes speed a fundamental strategic imperative, not just for companies, but for nations, for all of us, really, in defining the architecture of this coming AI epoch.
So let's try to bring this all together. What does this deep dive mean for you? We've explored Eric Schmidt's vision of AI as a genuinely new epoch, a shift potentially as monumental as the Enlightenment itself.
It's a huge claim.
It is, driven by these rapidly advancing agentic and reasoning capabilities in AI. We've seen how the San Francisco Consensus paints this picture of potentially world-changing developments within just a few short years.
Yeah, that 3-year average is startling.
Definitely. Fueled by these scale-free advancements in areas like math and software, and underpinned by this absolutely insatiable demand for compute power.
Which might not be a bubble after all.
Right. Possibly a whole new industrial structure from the geopolitical chessboard where silicon is strategy, and we see these contrasting U.S. closed models versus Chinese open models.
A really key dynamic to watch.
To that intensely personal lesson from Schmidt about moving incredibly fast, learned the hard way during the mobile era. The message seems undeniable. The future of AI isn't just coming, it's basically here, and it's accelerating at a pace that demands our immediate attention and proactive engagement.
And this leaves us really with a critical question to ask ourselves, doesn't it? Given these insights, these predictions about AGI and even superintelligence and the astonishing speed Eric Schmidt outlines, what kind of world do we actually want to build? Especially when the very nature of intelligence might be shifting right beneath our feet. How do we prepare ourselves, individually and collectively, for a future where so much could be defined and shaped by these emerging non-human intelligences? It's a challenge, absolutely, but maybe also an opportunity, unlike any humanity has ever faced before.